Hi, it's Jill Foster here with the next Simply Shimmerz Simply Penny Black stamping video, where I will be focusing on basic stamping techniques and just the relaxation and joy of painting. And today I'll be using the Shimmerz paints, and these are an iridescent paint with really intense color saturation too. And the shimmer with these is just gorgeous. And the penny black stamp that I'm doing is 40-481 Red Sparkle. And this is a really unique poinsettia stamp. I love coloring this one in and painting this one in. And here's a look at the card we will be making in today's video. And on the right hand side you can really see that gorgeous shimmer on that stamp Red Sparkle. So to begin, I'm going to emboss my image. I just rubbed an anti-static bag over Canson 140-pound watercolor paper, and I'm inking my stamp with Versamark ink. And then I'll be stamping this onto that watercolor paper. And this is a really fun image to paint, and you could certainly, if you were mass producing Christmas cards, you could stamp a whole bunch of these, emboss them all, and then be able to sit down and just paint away whenever you had time. So I'm just pressing that down, then I'll sprinkle that with my embossing powder. And this is just a white embossing powder, and I will tap off the excess. Make sure I've covered everything, and then dump the extra powder into the jar and heat that to set. So this is the Shimmerz paint, and these come in a little pot, and you just stir them up. I use the back of my paintbrush, and they're ready to go, so you don't need to spray these with any water to activate them. They're ready to go right away. And I recommend saving that little sort of plastic papery insert that comes in the lid, and it'll just help seal them up even better when you put the lid back on. This color is called Orchestra, and this is one of the new colors, and it is so pretty. And I thought I'd go a little bit non-traditional on this poinsettia because I was just so anxious to try this new color, and I really like how it turned out. So I'm just painting this in, and it's hard to see the outline here, but you'll start to be able to see it a little bit better as I add more paint. And then any areas that I want to be lighter, I just add water to that. So with these paints, they're fairly opaque and fairly thick, and so anytime if you want to water them down or let them have more of a watercolor effect on the project, just add extra water as you're painting them on. And here's just a little look at the shimmer and some of the texture that you get. This is even before it's dry. I think they look even more shimmery once they're dry. So I just painted all of the petals with that one color and used water to sort of lift and move away and create light areas on the petals. The next color I'm using here is Bluegrass, and this is another new color. And I'm really sorry, I kept sticking my head into the video. I don't know what was going on, so I apologize for that. But I just put down the thickest layer of paint at the base of the leaf and then went in with some water and sort of pushed the extra paint down towards the base of the leaf, and that created that lighter area up near the top. And if I wanted to darken it up like I'm doing here, I just kind of pounce or drop in extra paint in the area where I want it to be darker, and then I can, using a brush that is not very wet, that I've kind of squeezed out on my fingers, I can also lift that color while it's still wet. Now for these really small leaves up here, I basically just painted them in. I wasn't too worried about any extra shading. And really with these paints, they don't need a lot of shading. There's so much beautiful dimension and just visual interest with the shimmer that even if you don't want to do any shading and you just paint in each petal, each leaf, it looks finished and it looks really beautiful. And here behind my head, I'm really not trying to keep it a secret, I just painted in the stems on that poinsettia. So now I'm going to paint the background, and I just put down a layer of water, working in a fairly small section. And then I'm going to use another new color. This color is called Under My Skin, and it's a fantastic background color if you're looking for something. It's kind of a vintage, old paper looking color. I'm putting that down, the paintbrush with the paint. I'm first setting that paint down closest to the stamped image, and then I'm moving my way out towards the white area and then adding extra water the further I get away from the stamped portion of the image. And that helps that be darker closest to the image and then fade to the white background as it moves away. And in these really tiny spaces, I just paint that in with the paint. There's no need to worry about blending in those very small spaces. Now, while that's still wet, I can go back in and add more paint and blend it with water, and it will easily mix and blend and fade out into the open area because it is still wet, and that water there helps that continue to move. Once all of that was dry and I just sped up the process using my heat gun, I decided I wanted to give the poinsettia a hint of red, just a little bit more traditional color. So I'm using Royal Red Shimmerz paint, and I'm just putting that right on top. I'm hardly using any paint because I still wanted that beautiful purple, that orchestra color to show. But I did want that just the hint of red. So you can see I'm just barely putting any on, and then I can go back in with just water on my brush to blend that in. And those two colors actually ended up being a really great pair. I can definitely see using those together again. And I continued that process on all of the petals. And now here, just for the center of the poinsettia, I'm using the golden wheat color. This is a really nice yellow. It isn't too bright. It's just very warm and rich. And I'm adding a little bit of this to my background, just to warm things up here a little bit in the corner and to add some extra shimmer in that area. At the end of the video, I'll show you all of the shimmer so you can really get an idea of what it looks like in real life. And by painting the background with these same paints, you just get an all over shimmery look, which is nice for the elegance of Christmas. So here I'm taking that under my skin color that we painted the background with, put it on an old acrylic block and added some water, and I'm just going to splatter that onto my background. It's pretty watered down, so it gives a very mottled texture to the background just by splattering that on there. And now I'm taking that golden wheat color and putting a super light layer, so it's mixed with some water, onto the leaves. I just wanted to warm them up a little bit. And I'm just quickly doing that onto all of the leaves, and like I said, it's a very light layer. And just to darken that up, I'm putting the golden wheat onto the corners again, and then blending with water as it fades away from each corner. And here's a look now that that's dry at all of the shimmer that you get with the Shimmerz paints. It is so beautiful in real life, and something else I really love is that the colors still remain very strong and intense even with the shimmer. Here's the final card. I finished it off by embellishing it with the die cut sentiment by Penny Black, 51-251, Rejoice, and also a small stamped panel at the bottom of the card just to create a border. And one more peek at the shimmer on that card. Thank you so much for watching. If you enjoyed today's video, be sure to subscribe to both the Penny Black and the Shimmerz YouTube channels, and I'll link to all the ways you can connect with Penny Black and Shimmerz down in the YouTube description box. And if you're ordering any Shimmerz paints, be sure to mention my name in the comments section when you're checking out to get a free pot of paint. And here's a list of all the supplies used in creating this card.